Hey guys, Joel's coming at you with another reasoning session, and today I'm going to be talking about how no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've lost, no matter what time has stolen from you, Source not only restores the substance of it, but it also restores the time that you've lost.
Come now and let us reason together. Come now, we can talk it over.
So if you like these videos, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more content just like this, because I'm honestly making videos every day. Source is revealing things to me on a regular basis, and I can't slow down because honestly it's coming through even faster than I can make these videos. So yeah, big tech can't censor this message because they can't censor the truth. Because the truth knows no enemies, and Source is bringing through this message and is preparing the people with ears to hear and hearts to receive it to actually find this message. So with that being said, I'm going to jump straight into the text. Again, we're coming through with the oracles of the prophet Joel, Yoel Hanabi in the Hebrew, and he's prophesying regarding a decimating time that the nation of Judah has actually witnessed. And literally, they've lost all their crops and the entire economy has been decimated. But look what he says, that is the promise after the people turn to Source and actually realize the source of their prosperity. It's not in the good crops, because the good crops themselves are a byproduct of really Source lining up, good crops and good rains and no locusts, which is what had happened in the previous chapter. The palmer worm and the locust and the cankerworm and the caterpillar, man, they decimated this crop. And what Joel's saying to the people is saying, turn to Yahweh, turn to your source, the one that lines all this up in the first place. And don't just do this as an outward show. Get your heart right with Source. Get in tune with that inner harmony. And from there, all the other outward physical circumstances will line up to match that state that Source really embodies. And guess what will happen when you get your heart right with Source? He says, and rend your heart and not your garments, and turn unto Yahweh your God, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and he repents of the evil. So that means that when you get right with Source and you realize that you sowed seed to get this bad harvest, once you get right with that, Source will actually repent of the evil and turn that all around for you. He says, Yahweh will answer and say unto his people, behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil. Corn refers to a good grain yield, and of course the wine refers to that you don't even have grapes, but you have so many that you got to make something out of it that will last, and those are either wine or raisins. And of course the oil refers to the produce of the olive tree, which has its own benefits. And you shall be satisfied therewith, and I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen. In a verse prior before that, he says that the heathen should say among the people, where is their God? But all that was stolen is going to be restored, because he says, be glad, you children of Zion, and rejoice in Yahweh your God, for he has given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rains, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month. And the floors shall be full of wheat, and the fat shall overflow with wine and oil. Again, there the symbolism of grain and wine and oil. And I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you. Guess what? He doesn't say, I'm going to restore the crops that these guys have eaten and stolen from you. No, he says the years. Because when you get a bad crop, guess what? You lose money that year. And your whole economical system kind of suffers a speed bump, if not worse. But he says, I'm going to restore those years to you. And you shall eat in plenty. The Hebrew literally says you shall eat devouringly, or eat voraciously. You can't really directly translate these terms into English, but it just uses the word to eat twice in an emphatic sense to say that you're going to eat like you've never eaten before. And you shall praise the name of Yahweh your God, that has dealt wondrously with you. That means you're going to recognize the system that Yahweh embodies in sowing and reaping. And though you've put a bad seed out, if you really repent from it and realize Source as your source, then you're going to actually rejoice in that whole system of government, of seed, time, harvest. And my people shall never be ashamed. That's a really great promise, but guess what? It's repeated in the next verse. And when Source repeats something, better pay attention. And you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am Yahweh your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. And speaking of these years that Source restores to us, we can even look to the story of Job, or Job in the English. When his whole household was hit, he lost all his cattle, his children were killed, and his own health, his own life was threatened. But guess how the story ends? It says, Yahweh blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels and 1,000 yoke of oxen and 1,000 she-asses. So all these cattle, of course, yeah, you can purchase them, you can trade for them. That can be restored in a relatively short time. But it also goes on to say that he had also 7 sons and 3 daughters. So what? His children are just born and then he sees them as babies and that's good enough? No, his children have to grow up and he actually has to see them prosper. It says that in all the land there were no women found so fair as the daughters of Job, and their father gave them inheritance among their brethren. So they not only grew to the age of receiving an inheritance, but it says that after this, Job lived 140 years. After all of this, and he saw his sons and his sons' sons, even 4 generations. So it's good enough to see your grandchildren, but when you see your great-great-grandchildren, that's what it means when years are restored. And that's what Yahweh embodies. So no matter what it looks like society is going through, no matter what's been stolen from you, during this lockdown, and with all the relationships that have kind of fallen by the wayside due to social distancing, all that kind of stuff, Source not only restores to you those relationships and, the objects that you might have been able to purchase and you weren't able to get or whatever. Source literally will restore to you the years that have been stolen from you in house arrest. I mean, lockdown. So really tap in with Source. Get in tune with understanding this nature that Yahweh embodies. And you too can transcend all this limitations and manipulations when it looks like logic and reason argue that you can't even make some of these gains because of the circumstances of the world. Source will turn that around for you, even though evil is all around you. Even though these things are going on at your left hand and your right, Source will literally bring you through the valley of the shadow of death, and you will fear no evil, for Yahweh is with you. So I love you guys. Stay optimistic and really tap in, because we were born for such a time as this, to really bring to pass and download into this physical plane the higher possibilities that we've come here at this time as agents in place to make manifest the kingdom of heaven in this earth. So with that being said, I'll check you in the next reasoning sesh. Joel signing out once again. Agape, Salaam, Namaste, Shalom. Again, we're coming at the, or get the, again, we're coming, or get, again, we're coming through with the oracles of Yoel. Here comes the sun, doodle-doo-doo, and I say, it's all right, doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.